why are we actually seeing an increased adoption of object storage for data warehousing, right? So Steve actually should talk to you guys through the evolution of data warehousing, data analytics, how it started off from your set infrastructures where you had pretty much a capability of analyzing structured and semi-structured, to data lakes where went more into the data science world. You could actually analyze more type of data, whether it's structured, semi-structured, unstructured, with the capability of also ingesting data around media, audio, and what have you. But if you look at what's actually happened with the whole data warehousing movement, um, the whole concept of data lake house, I want to say it kind of started somewhere in the cloud. You know, Customers started using data warehousing engines with AWS S3 and what have you as backend data storage, and it worked quite well. And if you look at that architecture, it is a lot more efficient. You can still have the concurrency and the performance on from the data warehouse side of things, and then you can actually create a data lake at the bottom to expand your horizons on the kind of analysis you can run all from the single platform. Well, customers want the same kind of data warehouse or data lake house architectures now, which is the modern way of doing things. But they may or may not want necessarily to use the cloud based systems. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, and we mentioned a few, cost being one of them, that come into mind. But that's pretty much why customers are trying to recreate, or at least everybody from a solution perspective is recreating that kind of environment in your own data center, right? If you look at the evolution of Hadoop actually gave you a great data lake platform. But Hadoop always was built on the concept of co-location of data and storage. So once you start scaling your storage, you're automatically scaling your compute nodes as well. And that's the shared fate. It gets expensive, it's inefficient, and a lot of times it's just downright incorrect, right? So with going with an object storage to create your data lake along with the data warehouse system, you're just separating your compute scale from your storage scale. That's the efficient way of getting scalability on both sides while being able to control your cost as well, right? Standardization of the S3 protocols. A lot of the applications today getting written or that have already been written are being written for the cloud, and the language of the cloud storage today by de facto standard is S3. S3 object storage is getting standardized across almost all organizations. And when you're building your data lake house on-prem, that's where you want to standardize on S3 object storage as well, right? And of course, building a data lake house, you are looking at use cases starting from analytics to traditional data warehousing with BI and what have you. But you can actually expand this data lake house to do a lot more. You can talk about that being your repository for your machine logs, for your image repository, for your data protection use cases. All of these other application also talk S3. So building something on a standard base, you are looking at one storage platform that can give you multiple uses, right? And then why on-prem versus a cloud? Well, our poll kind of tried to get into it, but we've seen repatriation of workload from the public cloud due to cost concerns. I mean, Steve also mentioned this from their research, and it's an independent research. You'll see that once you go to cloud-based applications and cloud-based solutions, it's easy to start, but once the meter starts, it's where the costs rack up very, very quickly. When you're trying to scale, you're talking about having more servers. When you're trying to store data, well, once the data gets generated and stored, you're not. It becomes difficult or almost impossible to delete data. and that's where the cost meter just does not stop, right? There are applications that have data gravity, right? You have generated the data on prem. You, to be able to need to move it to the cloud, I mean, that can be extremely difficult, extremely costly, and in some cases downright impossible because of regulatory concerns, because of security concerns, because of many other concerns. So for that reason also on premises works in a lot of cases. Data sovereignty, so especially if you're looking at some of the prospects in EMEA, in Asia Pac, data sovereignty is becoming a much bigger concern than it used to be even a year back. And for sovereignty reasons, you also want to be able to use what the architectures you have seen in the cloud, but you want them on premises. So that's another reason, right? And then being able to protect your business critical applications with standardized object storage platform, working with one of the best data warehousing platforms out there. That's another reason why you would want to look at on premises